and every issue that affects you. ACNN is now streaming, discusses the issues trending and the matters that matter to us all. Join us every Monday to Friday at 10 a.m. on ACNN as we go in-depth into every issue that impacts our lives, our communities, and our country.
In terms of true worship, we must seek the Lord. We will not be able to come with all our perfections.
We will recognize as superseding every other gift. So love, in essence, is very important. Our position is who we are. Our disposition is the way we relate to who we are. So it's not about your position, it's also about your disposition. People of God, I want to tell you that no matter who you are, no matter your position, your status, you have encountered that superior power, the efficacious power of the blessing.
It says this God hears prayers, and then he expands the limits of whose prayer is heard.
Join us every Sunday for our online Sunday service and Children's Sunday School broadcast, showing on ACNN TV and our social media platforms, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Open your hearts to receive from the Lord, and I'm sure as you watch and hear from various ministers of God, you will not remain the same. God bless you.
The Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion Standing Committee has issued a communique at the end of the Standing Committee meeting with the theme, The Bond of Peace, the Core of the Life and Ministry of the Church, taken from Ephesians chapter 4, verse 3. The Primate of the Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion, the Most Reverend Dr. Henry Ndukuba, has acknowledged the efforts of President Tinubu's administration and security agencies, also emphasizing the urgent need for economic relief for suffering Nigerians. Plus, the Director of Civic and Political Affairs of the Church of Nigeria, the Venerable Joseph Nwaya, has commended security agencies for their efforts in combating insecurity. Now the news in detail. A communique has been issued at the end of the Standing Committee meeting of the Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion, held from Monday 17th to Friday 21st February 2025 at St. Cyprian's Anglican Church, 50B Hospital Road, Port Harcourt, Diocese of Niger Delta, Rivers State, with the theme, The Bond of Peace, the Core of the Life and Ministry of the Church, taken from Ephesians chapter 4, verse 3. Some of the issues raised in the communique include the state of the nation that covers the challenges of insecurity, a new constitution for Nigeria, national reconciliation among ethnic and religious groups, Nigeria's economic environment, youth and unemployment, politics and governance, amongst many. Speaking on politics and governance, the Standing Committee notes that it is just less than halfway into the tenure of the current administration and that some political office holders have abandoned governance to pursue their reflection in 2027. It says it's rather too early and insensitive to the ugly plight of the suffering masses. The committee therefore made a clarion call to all politicians and those seeking elective offices to concentrate on giving the citizens democratic dividends as promised. They advised the polity that the polity should not be heated up, thereby making politics a bloodbath and governance about the selfish interests of the political class. In attendance at the Standing Committee were 137 archbishops, bishops, 146 clergy, and 96 lay members. Also in attendance at the opening ceremony were the wife of the primate of the Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion, Mrs. Angela Eberechukwu Ndukuba, President of Mothers Union and Girls Organizations, Sir Simina Lai Fubara, GSSRS, the Governor of Rivers State, Most Reverend Dr. David Onoa, President of the Christian Council of Nigeria, and other government and religious functionaries. Former primates of the Church of Nigeria, Most Reverend Dr. Peter Jasper Akinola and Most Reverend Dr. Nicholas Oko, sent goodwill messages. Still on the Standing Committee, the primates of the Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion, the Most Reverend Dr. Henry Ndukuba, has acknowledged the efforts of President Bola Tinubu's administration and security agencies in securing the nation, while also emphasizing the urgent need for economic relief for suffering Nigerians. Speaking at the just concluded Church of Nigeria Standing Committee meeting held at St. Cyprian's Anglican Church in Port Harcourt, Primate Ndukuba highlighted the crucial link between security and improved food security, protection of petroleum pipelines, and increased petroleum production. However, he stressed the severe economic hardships faced by Nigerians, calling for immediate and swift remedies.
We acknowledge and appreciate the efforts of His Excellency the President and his team, and also the efforts of the security agencies to secure our land. We acknowledge and appreciate the efforts of His Excellency the President and his team, and also the efforts of the security agencies to secure our land. Security is undoubtedly crucial for improved food security, safety of petroleum pipelines, and enhanced petroleum production. These will boost accretion to our foreign reserves and strengthen our naira and reduce inflation and improve productivity and ultimately improve the livelihood of our citizens. But the reality is that Nigerians are suffering and we need immediate remedy, a quick one. The regime of President Goodluck Jonathan impacted on agriculture and food security. And to some extent, President Buhari's regime built on this, especially in focusing on rice production and processing. One would think that sustaining such policies that aim at adding value to our agricultural produce will help the nation and her citizens. Agro industries will engage a greater number of our population and help revamp agriculture and create job opportunities and increase commercial enterprises and also feed other industries and our people. Harnessing our grain produce, cotton, and other agricultural produce will help this nation. More so, there is need for rapid and radical mechanization of agriculture for us to have the maximum benefit of God's blessings upon this nation. And we want to encourage our members, the members of the Anglican Communion, to take on this challenge and also charge our dioceses to engage in agro-business and industries.
Speaking on insecurity, the Director of Civic and Political Affairs of the Church of Nigeria and the Chaplain to the National Assembly, the Venerable Joseph Unwaya, has commended security agencies for their efforts in recent times, saying it is very evident that they have woken up. He made this known on Acnn TV morning show, now streaming.
I want to say that there's need to commend the security for what they are doing, because of recent they are doing a lot. And for instance, for the first time I saw the leadership of the military talking tough. Of recent, the chief of army staff went on a visitation, I think around the northwest region, and he saw the atrocities of Toruji, yes, who has been terrorizing every person. Yes, and it was the chief of army staff was quoted as saying, "I want him dead or alive," and he's giving the military a time frame to get him. I think such is needed. Such action is needed to restore the confidence of Nigeria in our armed forces and all the security agencies. Civil defense are also doing a lot, quietly doing a lot. The truth is that the insecurity in Nigeria is getting out of hand. It's getting out of control. And the bad economy, for that economy that have been getting worse by the day for some years now, especially the recent years, is really fueling insecurity. Many more people are getting themselves involved in criminality, and so many heinous crime you hear about that is very difficult to comprehend. So we want to encourage our security agencies not to rest on their oars. Everyone should be up and doing. Everyone should follow up their mandate to the letter and ensure that Nigerians can sleep well. I think that we also need all the citizens need to cooperate with the security forces to ensure that the information are shared, and especially now that is gradually becoming very clear that the military have woken up. It is very clear that the military is all out to bring this thing to an end.
Advising Nigerians to support the efforts of the security agencies, the Venerable Nwaya called on Nigerians to provide needed information to help combat insecurity and for all to find legitimate ways of finding resources for survival.
Nigerians can cooperate with them by sharing real-time information for them to be able to track these people down. These terrorists and these criminals are human beings. They are not spirits. They live among people, and people know them. And if you don't know them, people suspect some of them. This information should be made available to the security forces, the police, the civil defense, the military, and all that, to be able to conclude this war on terror. But really, it's not good time yet for Nigeria at all. Well, I want to encourage Nigerians not to be discouraged. They should keep moving on, and I want to encourage our youth not to venture into crime because it will not pay. I want to encourage everyone to find whatever you can do to survive as far as it is legitimate, and please go ahead and do it. And I want to let people know that hard time will not last forever. Hard time will not last forever. And by the grace of God, with prayer and with the goodwill of many Nigerians who want good things to happen in this nation, we shall overcome.
And now on electricity, the federal government of Nigeria has announced plans to review electricity tariffs for customers in bands B and C, aiming to address disparities within the current billing system. The announcement was made by Minister of Power Adebayo Adelabu during the public presentation of the National Integrated Electricity Policy and the Nigeria Integrated Resource Plan in Abuja. The government is considering this action due to the low pace of customer migration to Band A, which offers a higher electricity supply. Minister Adelabu attributed this slow migration to a lack of necessary investment by distribution companies, DISCOs. Currently, significant discrepancies exist in tariff rates. Customers in Band B receiving 16 to 18 hours of daily electricity pay approximately 63 naira per kilowatt in an hour. In contrast, Band A customers with only 2 additional hours of supply face charges of 209 naira per kilowatt per hour. Minister Adelabu described this disparity as unfair and emphasized the need for tariff regularization to create a more balanced and equitable pricing system. He said, "We will look at the tariff again," clarifying that the review does not necessarily imply an imminent increase in rates. He said, "We are going to look at it and see how we can improve upon our modest achievements of last year, not only to ensure that we grow the sector that we need, but also to ensure that we can invest more in revamping all these dilapidated infrastructures." He further noted that the DISCO's reluctance to involve the infrastructure has hindered the faster migration of customers to Band A. A lot of investment is required for them to achieve an accelerated migration of lower band customers to Band A. He says it is taking a lot of time. The government is considering restructuring tariff bands, specifically addressing the wide gap between B and A and other bands. A proposed system will encompass B and A, B and C, aiming to rectify the current inequalities. The gap between Band A tariffs and Band B, C, D, and E is just too wide, Adelabu explained. He further said they believe it's unfair and it is not just and they must be able to carry out some level of regularization. The minister reiterated the government's commitment to review the existing tariff structure, emphasizing that the focus is on creating a more equitable system rather than an automatic tariff increase. You've been watching Acnn News on the Hour. Still to come, FCCPC launches inquiry into rising drug prices in Nigeria. This story and others will come your way after the short break. Stay tuned.
Hello viewers, welcome to this week's episode on Health Watch on Advent Cable Network Nigeria. I am Angela Emeka Ebibu.
What we need as humans is to have a good spiritual life. It's more important than having an abundance of possessions without a healthy spirit.
We have issues that relate to sexual affairs. There is something called consent. If a person says no, that means she or he hasn't given their consent.
My mother delivered children on her own. A baby that is too big, how do you want it to come out without having issues?
Your faith does not negate you going for a medical check or engaging in a medical therapy. It doesn't.
The patient has his own rights, and this right has to do with the right patient, the right drug, the right dose, the right duration, you understand, even the right time in how it is given.
In terms of true worship, we must seek the Lord. We We will not be able to come with all our perfections.
We will recognize as superseding every other gift. So love, in essence, is very important. Our position is who we are. Our disposition is the way we relate to who we are. So it's not about your position, it's also about your disposition. People of God, I want to tell you that no matter who you are, no matter your position, your status,
you have encountered that superior power, the efficacious power of the blessing.
It says this God hears prayers, and then he expands the limits of whose prayer is heard.
Welcome back. You're still watching ACNN News on the Hour. For more on our top stories, please visit our website at acnntv.com or our social media platforms on facebook.com or youtube.com/@ACNN Television. To be up to date with our news and other programs, download the ACNN TV app, Avo TV app, Net Niger TV app, Limex World TV app, or Android TV app from Google Play Store or iOS Store. And you can also advertise your goods and services on ACNN TV. Moving on, Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemicals has announced a second reduction in the ex-depot price of premium motor spirit, commonly known as petrol, within February. The new price cut brings the rate down to 825 naira per litre, a reduction of 65 naira from the previous price of 890 naira. This adjustment follows an earlier 60 naira price reduction on February 1st, resulting in the total decrease of the 125 naira per litre in 26 days, down from 950 naira per litre in January. The Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria acknowledged the price reduction as a positive development for consumers and a benefit of deregulation. However, they also expressed concern about the potential financial impact on marketers who had purchased fuel at higher prices. Dangote Refinery stated that the price reduction aims to ensure that consumers in Lagos will pay between 860 naira and 865 naira per litre at the pump. The adjustment, effective February 27th, is intended to provide relief to Nigerians, particularly during the Ramadan period, and to support President Bola Tinubu's economic recovery policy. Dangote Industries Limited Vice President Edwin Devakumar previously noted that the refinery's commitments to processing a wide range of crude oils, including African and Middle East varieties, to provide flexibility in supply. IPMAN National Vice President Ahmad Fashola recognized the reduction as a win for deregulation, but highlighted the challenges it poses for marketers. Dangote Refinery reiterated its commitment to providing high-quality products nationwide through its key partners, MRS Holdings, AP, and Hayden, at competitive market rates. Dangote Refinery assured the public of a consistent supply of petroleum products, emphasizing its sufficient reserves to meet domestic demand and generate surplus for exports, contributing to the country's foreign exchange earnings. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, has initiated an inquiry into the escalating cost of drugs within Nigeria's pharmaceutical and healthcare sector. The announcement was made in Abuja, with the Commission citing growing concerns over affordability and accessibility. Executive Vice Chairman of the FCCPC, Tunji Bello, represented by the Director of Surveillance and Investigation, Mrs. Boladale Adeyinka, stated that the inquiry is crucial due to the alarming increase in drug prices, which is hindering the acquisition of essential medications and pharmaceutical equipment. According to the FCCPC-VC, Tunji Bello, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission is empowered by the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act 2018 to promote fair business practices and safeguard consumer interests. As part of this mandate, there will be an inquiry into the high cost and variation of drug prices. The Commission has received numerous complaints from concerned Nigerians regarding the fluctuating and high cost of drugs in the market. This inquiry is aimed to identify factors contributing to disparities in healthcare accessibility and affordability, particularly regarding drug pricing. We believe this is crucial to ensure Nigerians have access to quality and affordable healthcare services, Bello emphasized. Mr. Osaritin Asuwata of the Society for Family Health delivered a goodwill message stressing the need for stronger policies to improve healthcare delivery effectiveness in Nigeria. The national chairman of the Association of Community Pharmacists of Nigeria, Mr. Eze Abrosia, and the president of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, Mr. Ibrahim Tanko, represented by the FCT chairman of PSN, Mrs. Salamatu Ora Kwelu, also spoke, identifying key factors contributing to the high cost and price variations of drugs. The FCCPC inquiry aims to address these factors and ensure fair pricing for consumers. And now away from the shores of Nigeria, the General Secretary of the World Council of Churches, WCC, Secretary Reverend Professor Dr. Jerry Pillay, while speaking at the JC 2033 Unity Night Global Gathering, has defined Christian unity as a witness to the world, adding that the world may believe. The WCC General Secretary in his message reflected on the importance of Christian unity, saying, and I quote, "As we move towards JC 2033, it is imperative that we work for Christian unity on the way." End of quote. He went further to say that personally he believes that Christians must never stop praying and working together for Christian unity, noting that in 2025 the World Council of Churches will not only commemorate the 1700th anniversary of the Council of Nia, but will also celebrate with joy a common date for Easter. Pillay reiterated the need to affirm and deepen the desire for Christian unity, saying that Christians' inability to live up to the calling of visible Christian unity should not diminish or blur the ultimate vision, and encouraged that all should continue to pray and work together so that the world may believe. Finally, Reverend Professor Dr. Jerry Pillay said Christian unity matters in the quest for justice, reconciliation, and peace in the world, and Christian unity is God's call to Christians today to reconcile humanity and all creation. He concluded by saying, and I quote, "The faith we must confess must shape the world we live, the way we live, the way we respond to the brokenness of the world, and the way we embody the love of Christ in tangible, transformative ways." JC 2033 is a movement of Christians around the world who are celebrating the 2000th anniversary of the resurrection of Jesus Christ at Easter 2033. Every 2 years, JC 2033 organizes an international gathering on different continents, with this year's occurring in Geneva in February under the theme Light for the Nations. Apart from the WCC General Secretary, speakers at the Unity Night include Olivia Fleury, founder of JC 2033, and Elias Miriantheos, member of the Cyprus Parliament Interparliamentary Assembly on Orthodoxy. You've been watching ACNN News on the Hour. Before we go, let's take a quick recap of our major stories. The Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion Standing Committee has issued a communique at the end of the Standing Committee meeting with the theme, "The Bond of Peace, the Core of the Life and Ministry of the Church," taken from Ephesians chapter 4, verse 3. The primate of the Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion, the Most Reverend Dr. Henry Ndukuba, has acknowledged the efforts of President Tinubu's administration and security agencies, also emphasizing the urgent need for economic relief for suffering Nigerians. Plus, the Director of Civic and Political Affairs of the Church of Nigeria, Venerable Joseph Noya, has commended security agencies for their efforts in combating insecurity. And that's all we can take on ACNN News on the Hour. Thank you for watching. I am Abbas Editao. Do have a lovely weekend ahead. Goodbye.
Hello viewers, welcome to this week's episode on Health Watch on Advent Cable Network Nigeria. I am Angela Emeka Ebibu.
What we need as humans is to have a good spiritual life. It's more important than having an abundance of possessions without a healthy spirit.
We have issues that relate to sexual affairs. There is something called consent. If a person says no, that means she or he hasn't given their consent.
My mother delivered children on her own. A baby that is too big, how do you want it to come out?